Welcome to Z House Gaming.
Alright everyone, hello and welcome to Z House Gaming. I'm your host, Mr. Z, and we are here to play Elden Ring. Now a small disclaimer, well, first of all, this is my first video that I'm posting. I do like to play games like this when the house quiets down, and I figured why not just record my play sessions and throw them out there. So here we are. Elden Ring is a fantastic game. I've already played it fairly extensively. I won't say I've made it extremely far into the game, but I have put about 20 hours in, and I just love it. I'm a big fan of the Souls-like games, and Elden Ring is no exception. And it is indeed a work of art. It's just a fantastic experience. So without further ado, I'm going to get started with this initial Z House Gaming playthrough and see how we do. So as I've said, I've already got a character created, but I'm going to start from scratch here. And let's take a look at what our choices are. So we have the Vagabond, the Warrior, the Hero, the Bandit, Astrologer, Prophet, Samurai, Prisoner, Confessor, and Wretch. Now I tend to like to play more of a straight up melee character. Actually my last character type was a hero, just a tough guy who can go out there with a huge weapon and just chop the enemies to bits. And I really enjoyed it. But actually I want to try a little bit of might and magic, shall we say. And after doing some reading, you can do a good build like that using the Confessor, which apparently isn't a really great starter build for a brand new person who's never played a game like this before, but I do have a little bit of experience in the Souls-like games. I actually just came off a playthrough of the original Dark Souls, Prepare to Die edition. So I'm going to go with the Confessor this time around. And let's see, basically male or female. So let's see. We'll pick our name here. We're going to call it Mr. Z. That's who I am. Okay. Type A body type. I am not that young of a man, but I'm not an aged man. I'm going to go mature. I'm going to say Confessor. If you've never played this type of game before, it usually asks you to select a keepsake in the beginning. It's an item that you start the game with that can give you some bonuses. Some of these do various things, such as start you off with adding to your health pool, or you can pump up the flasks that heal you. They're called Flasks of Crimson Tears. That's, for example, what the Golden Seed would do. So there's a variety of different items here. I'm actually going to go with the Golden Seed because these are not a common item in the game, and these actually allow you to increase the number of uses that you will have for your flasks. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. The first part of my playthrough is going to be a little bit of a kind of a tour, I guess, of what I've already experienced in the game. And then after a while, I'm going to go blind because there's a certain spot in the game where I've gotten to and I've never been past the first major area of the game. So I'm going to go with the Golden Seed. Character status, you've got your level, Vigor, Mind, Endurance, Strength, Dexterity, Intelligence, Faith, and Arcane. And for this build, I think I primarily want to focus on Strength and Faith, adding a little Vigor and Endurance. Vigor controls how much health you have, Endurance how much stamina. Strength is your ability to wield heavier weapons and armor. Faith is your ability to cast, I believe they're called incantations. If I'm wrong, I'll find out what they're actually called later on. So without further ado, let's create the character. And I'm going to do this off camera because probably going to take some time. So I will be back. Stand by. Okay, and we're back. So I've chosen this guy to represent me. And we're going to finish that off here. There's his starting gear. We're going to finish it. Yes, it's okay, and we'll watch the intro.
The fallen leaves tell a story. The great Elden Ring was shattered. In our home, across the fog, the lands between. Now, Queen Marika the Eternal is nowhere to be found. And in the night of the Black Knives, Godwyn the Golden was first to perish. Soon, Marika's offspring, demigods all, claimed the shards of the Elden Ring. The mad taint of their newfound strength triggered the shattering. A war from which no lord arose. A war leading to abandonment by the greater will. Oh, rise now, ye tarnished, ye dead who yet live. The call of long-lost grace speaks to us all. Horalu, chieftain of the Badlands, the ever-brilliant Gold Mask, Fear, the deathbed companion, the loathsome dung-eater, and Sir Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing. And one other, whom grace would again bless. A tarnished of no renown. Cross the fog to the lands between. To stand before the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord.
So there's our mission, become the Elden Lord. We must reassemble the parts of the shattered Elden Ring. Why? I don't know. We're apparently a Tarnished who is an undead who was banished from the lands between after some sort of war and the fall of Queen Marika. And now the Tarnished and some of those others that are mentioned, including the Dung Eater, who I'm very curious about, apparently are all setting out to reclaim the shards of this Elden Ring to become the Elden Lord. Why? Is this just a quest for power? Is there some other motive here. I don't know, but we'll find out in due time, I suppose. So here we are. We have a whole lot of blood here. Blood stains just represent areas where other players in the game have died, and you can watch their last few moments unfold if you so choose. I'm going to pillage remains. I get a tarnished wizened finger. Now, as I collect items and I go through the game, I'm going to be reading the descriptions of a lot of the stuff, if not everything, that I pick up. Just because a lot of the descriptions of items that you get lend a little bit more detail to what's going on in this world. And they give you tidbits of lore. So, okay, so we're leaving a place called the Chapel of Anticipation, and we come outside here, and there is the Erd Tree, which is a central landmark throughout this whole region. Everywhere you go in the lands between, you'll see the Erd Tree, as far as I know. Obviously, if you're underground, you won't, but... so here we are. We just come out here, and I can't open that door. It's blocked shut. So where do we go? You'll notice there's these markers on the ground. If you're not familiar with the Souls-like games, you can, as a player, you can write things with the wizened finger that I picked up. This tarnished wizened finger is used to write messages, and your messages will be conveyed to other worlds, allowing other players to read them. It's a finger of corpse wax, so emaciated the bone is visible. It is a relic of those who came before, left to help those who would come after. So that's what this was created by. You could read the message: sadness, try death. Yeah, this guy's trying to tell me to go down there with a gesture. I'm not going to, because he's just trying to make me die, and that's what other players will do in this game. They'll write messages that there's a great treasure below, or jump off the cliff to get a nice treasure or something like that, and sure enough, there's nothing there. It's just a ploy to get you to kill yourself. So you have to be aware of things like that. And there's a lot of bloodstains around here. Really, there's no enemies in this area, so there's not really any reason to die here unless you foolishly jump off the cliff. So, obviously we're not going to do that. The only place to go here is over this bridge. That guy's just rolling along. If you see another kind of wispy shadow or ghostly essence of another individual, it's another player who happens to be in this area of the game at the same time as you, and you can kind of follow along to see what they're doing. One thing that you'll notice about my playthrough here is I try to be pretty thorough with my exploration. I try not to leave anything to chance. Obviously there's nothing here, but this game is so huge and there are so many hidden things to it that I just can't help myself. I have to explore everywhere to get every last item that I can possibly pick up. So let's come into this courtyard and see what's going on here. What's that noise? Oh yeah, the grafted scion. So here's an enemy that you're basically... Yeah, I'm not going to win this fight, essentially. I think my other character was like level 30 by the time I was able to fight these things. By the time I was able to fight it. I may get a few good hits on, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to kill him. Oh, and I didn't. You're supposed to die there anyhow.
Don't worry, Torrent. Fortune is on his side.
I knew she was going to say fortune.
We found him here, after all. One of his kind is sure to seek the Elden Ring. Even if it does violate the Golden Order.
So apparently some Golden Order has been established, and it's not something that would be inclusive of a tarnished acquiring the Elden Ring. So at this point we have no idea who that was. Did she wake us up from consciousness? Did she bring us here after being defeated by that grafted scion? It's uncertain. But here we're being told about our flask of Crimson Tears and flask of Cerulean Tears. Now, previous Souls games, or at least in the Dark Souls series, you've got Estus flasks, which have a limited number of uses, and they heal you when you use them. They only get replenished at a bonfire. Well, here in Elden Ring, you have the flask of Crimson Tears, which I currently have 3 uses of. That'll heal me. The flask of Cerulean Tears will replenish what are called FP. I believe they're focus points. And that's what is consumed when you perform special moves or attacks or other special abilities. So I'm in this cave here. We see an item up here. I have no idea how to get that, honestly. A lot of people will come into this area, the Cave of Knowledge. See, there's a little tip here. I think when this game first came out, there was no tip here, so people would just run right past here, blow by here, and go up into these doors and be on their merry way. But if you do that, you end up skipping the tutorial section, which is actually down off this cliff. A lot of reviews that you might read about this game say, oh, the tutorial section was off of a frickin' cliff. I had to jump down. And ordinarily you would think, you know, jumping off of a cliff would be bad for you. You can also talk to this ghost, who says, brave tarnish, take the plunge. Of learning and remembrance. Recall the arts of war and your warrior's blood. So I think when this game first came out, I'm not 100% sure, I think that was all you got. And if that was too cryptic for you, you know, you might just blow right by this section. Either way, now there's a tooltip, so we're just going to jump down and proceed with the tutorial. Now before I go down there, feel free to fast forward if you don't want to hear any of this stuff, but I do want to go through my inventory and take a look at some of the items I have currently. We've got the Flask of Crimson Tears, which is a sacred flask modeled after a golden holy chalice that was once graced by a tear of blessing. That's a whole bunch of gobbledygook to me, honestly. Filled with Crimson Tears, this flask restores HP with use. Rest at a site of grace to replenish. The one washed up on the gravesite was sure to die, until this flask offered its gift of rejuvenation to seek the Elden Ring. And I'm assuming that refers to me. A Flask of Cerulean Tears is basically kind of the same description. I also have a Memory of Grace. The memory of first grace which once guided bygone tarnished to the lands between. When you use it, you lose all runes, and you return to the last site of great grace visited. It is merely a cycle. Stand before the Elden Ring, become the Elden Lord. So that's an item that you can use. I believe in Dark Souls it was the equivalent item was called the Rare Ring of Sacrifice. Basically, if you're in a jam, you can, and you have collected a lot of runes, which is the currency in this game, you could use it to return to the last site of grace visited if you're in a tough area and you don't want to risk losing all your runes and not being able to retrieve them. So here's our first site of grace. That was not what I wanted to do. So we'll touch the grace to activate it. And we'll rest. Of course, resting at a site of grace replenishes all of your uses of your flasks. It heals you, and it also respawns all enemies in the area. That actually respawns any enemies that you've previously killed, save bosses. You can pass the time of day. You can, and that's important later on because you can actually encounter different enemies at various times of day. You can allocate different charges, so you can use, for example, if I wanted to have 2 uses of a flask of crimson tears and 2 uses of a flask of cerulean tears, I can. I'm going to stick with 3 and 1. Now, one thing to note here, and I'm just going to do this now since I have it in my inventory. I'm going to go back to the item that I started the game with, or that I chose to start the game with. This is a golden seed. It's a pretty rare item in the game world. It effectively increases a sacred flask's number of uses. It's a golden seed found at the base of an illusory tree. It increases sacred flask's number of uses. When the Elden Ring was shattered, these seeds flew from the Erd tree, scattering across the various lands as if life itself knew that its end had come. So what that means is I can go here, and I can go to my flasks and add a charged flask. You can use 1 golden seed to increase your number of flask uses. I'll say yes. And here now I have 4 uses of flasks of crimson tears. Let's continue on. I'm not going to read my weapons and armor descriptions just now, but possibly at a later time I will. No, not possibly. I will. So here we have our first enemy. I don't know what this guy is. He's some kind of an undead noble. Just going to sneak up behind him and give him a nice crit. Telling us about sorceries and incantations. I'm just going to go ahead and kill these guys fairly quickly. This is definitely the tutorial area. It's telling us about guarding with our shield, holding our shields up to block the attacks. With each enemy killed, I'm earning runes, which are accumulating in the lower right-hand corner. You can see I have 39 of them. They are your currency in the game. You can use them to purchase items. Oh, I must have just surprised the hell out of this guy. Alright. And that tip that popped up is just talking about rolling, which I'll be doing a lot, dodging backwards, etc. No precious item ahead. Thanks for the tip. You can jump, unlike Dark Souls. Now here we have a crossbowman up there on that archway. People might just stand here not knowing what the heck to do. They think this guy's going to pilfer them with crossbow bolts. I tend to just say, you know what, we'll just run ahead. He can't get us if we're underneath him. We can also collect materials that are useful for crafting items, which we can use later on. And that was not possible in other Dark Souls games. You can get materials, but they were all usable items. Here we actually have crafting. So this is telling us we can switch armaments between our hands. We can wield our weapon with 2 hands, which I'll try to do here with this guy. That wasn't a good attack at all. And of course he can jab me because I don't have my shield out to block him. But with enough persistence while two-handing, I did not want to use my flask of crimson tears there. Okay. With enough persistence while two-handing, I could knock his shield away, which is what I just did. So you come up around the corner here. Let's see what we have. A couple more of these. You did. See ya. These guys are a cakewalk. Okay, so here was that pesky crossbowman that we saw earlier. just gonna hold our shields up and just kill the dude. Did he drop anything? No. Okay. I like your deer antlers, bro. Skills. This is teaching us that some of our armaments have skills. Now my skill right now is parry, and I didn't use it at the right time there. You have to get that perfect. This guy just I'm not very good at parrying. You have to time this just right when the enemy's attacking. And these guys' attacks are so slow and deliberate, it's nearly impossible to time. Well, it's not impossible. It's just I don't have the patience for it. I tend to just like to go in and bash them. This is teaching us about crouching. You can actually sneak up on enemies and kill them before they have the chance to see you or alert others that you are here. Critical hits. Scene. Stance breaking. So I can do a charge attack, which basically holds and release, and then you can do a jump attack as well, which staggered him in this case. So let's just take a look, since I'm coming up upon a kind of a critical area here. First off, I've encountered this Stake of America. It's a ruined statue of the queen who's apparently gone missing. Or goddess, actually. If you die, you will either resurrect at a Stake of America or at the last site of grace that you have visited. Now, the Stakes of America are fairly conveniently placed towards tough enemies or clusters of enemies in boss fights. So if you happen to fight the boss and lose, you'll return to the Stake of America and just be able to keep going at it until you've won. Now, before I go into this Wall of Golden Light, which is a fog wall common to the Souls games, let's take a look at my equipment that I've got. First of all, I did pick up this row of fruit, which is a berry. It's berry-like red fruits that grow in shrubs, material used for crafting items, easily found everywhere in the lands between. It has a wide variety of uses. We'll find out what that's all about a little bit later. I do have 2 spells. These are incantations, which I've never used an incantation or spell in this game, so how to even go about it is going to be a mystery to me. I'm assuming I need some sort of catalyst to do so. My current weapon is a broadsword, which is a straight sword with a wide blade suited to slashing attacks. Horizontal swings boast wide attack range, making it easier to connect with foes. Skill is a square off. This skill starts with the sword held level. Follow up with a normal attack to slash upwards through enemy's guard, or a strong attack to perform a running thrust. I also have a finger seal, a sacred seal bestowed by a finger maiden, which serves as a catalyst for casting sacred incantations. Okay, so I do have a catalyst. Incantations must be memorized first at a site of grace, and a sacred seal must be equipped to cast them. Okay, so I'm going to have to check that out. I have the Blue Crest Heater Shield, medium-sized metal shield, easier to handle than a kite shield. The crest represents a forest and river. Its skill is parry. Use this skill in time with a foe's melee attack to deflect it and break that foe's stance. This provides an opening to perform a critical hit. And then I'm wearing the Confessor gear. I've got the Confessor hood, which is a black hood for blending in with the darkness, worn by church confessors. The churches outside the lands between, dedicated to the teachings of the 2 fingers, which I still have no idea what these fingers are all about, send confessors out to follow the guidance of grace. The confessors are loyal servants to the 2 fingers, ready to hunt down and quietly dispose of their enemies. Black leather armor, confessor gloves, and confessor boots. So that's what I've got, and here's all the accumulated knowledge we've gotten so far from the tutorial. So without further ado, let's just get this over with. Once you see a wall like this, you know you're in for a boss fight. So we're going to traverse the Golden Mist. What do we have? A Soldier of Godric. Guard countering. As soon as you block an attack, you can immediately use a strong attack. Which, wow. I failed miserably there. Now I'm kind of doubting myself. I'm going to use a flask. He delayed. That's the problem. Okay, there was my guard counter, and I staggered him. And that should be curtains for you, pal. Alright. He's done for. So, first boss defeated. Soldier of Godric. There's a lot of bloodstains in here, so he has been doing some work in this place. Okay, so we're going to get up to the top of this path here, and, well, would you look at that? There's where we started. And now we're above that location where the tutorial is. So we're going to go here. There's an item. Let's see what we've got. Strength. So over here we have some gestures which we can use, which is just in multiplayer you can use these two. Express yourself. So yeah, okay, so what did I get here? Strength. Strength. Okay, cool. What does it look like? Strength. Alright, great. So we did it. So we're just going to go down here without further ado. Jump down. Thank you, Ghost. I still have no idea how to get that item back there, but we're going to proceed through this door next time. So if you've been watching, thank you, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks.